we're not getting the answers on our side. We're supposed to be your neighbor, but we're not really real neighborly like. Our health department's Allegheny County, so we're not reaching out that far.
We're the same way. It's Palestine doesn't have the health department, we rely on the Allegheny County, so I know.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm with Beaver County Emergency Services. We have been in contact with the Pennsylvania Department of Health, Pennsylvania DEP, and the Region 3 EPA, which has been working close with the EPA here in Region 5. So if you need any testing, you can contact the EPA. They've been testing the water, same as EPA in Ohio.
Groundwater, well water, and all that?
They will test, yes.
And so the residents of Beaver County have to call who? To get
Pennsylvania DEP.
And how long is this process going to take for them? They're getting emergency service right now. They're not.
I can give you the number soon. I'll give you that number. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been doing testing.
To answer this gentleman's question here from Pennsylvania, the well sampling program for the residential wells has been ongoing. We've been working on that since last week, and there have been 2 wells from Pennsylvania that have been sampled, but because of the delay of the lab results, we don't have those yet. As a Columbiana County Health Commissioner, our agency was not participating in that sampling, but they were sampled. And Pennsylvania, I think, to verify with Florida, they've been included in the water sampling group that reviews that. But what you can do, and pretty much anybody here that's on a well, I would encourage you to grab that number there. So we have these white sheets at the table over here for the health department. There is the groundwater sampling program that's going on for the residential wells. So if you have a well in the area and you're concerned about the drinking water condition, now we have yet to find any groundwater contamination, but nonetheless, we still offer this program, and it's done in tandem with the consultant for Norfolk Southern. They collect a sample, and we collect a sample. They send it to their lab, we send it to our lab. And so the number that you're going to want to have, and I realize most people in this room probably are on the city water system, which also at this point has not had any indications of contamination. So if you want to write this number down, you can call and get on the list to be sampled. Obviously, you can imagine we're prioritizing those well samples. The number is 330-849-3919. Again, that's 330-849-3919 to have your well sampled.
I know everybody wants to get a question answered. There's a young gentleman over here. He said that he's nervous, so if everybody would just keep their voice down.
Oh, buddy, you got this, man.
Okay?
You got this.
We're all adults here. Let's let this young man get to ask a question.
How should us kids feel safe with the snow on our street? How should us kids feel safe with the snow on our street?
All right, he wants to know how he should feel.
Good one.
Let's get somebody from the EPA. Tell these kids what they're smelling and why they either should or should not be worried about that. Who's the right guy?
Hello, James Justice with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. So as Kurt Kohler from Ohio EPA indicated, we believe the smell in the creek is coming from the butyl acrylate. What we do know about that chemical is, one is it's toxic to fish, but it also has what's called a real low odor threshold, which means you'll smell it after a long time before it will cause a health effect. We have been monitoring continuously along the creek. We're smelling it too, but we're not getting any detections of that on our monitoring equipment. So you're probably smelling it, but just because you're smelling it doesn't mean it's at a level to cause a health effect, because that odor threshold is so low. And I invite my partners from the health department to expand on that when I was spoken.
And I appreciate your question, young man. Have you ever peeled an orange sink, you get a whiff of the rind, and that doesn't hurt you, okay? You ever paint your house, have your house painted? You'll smell the odor of paint for a long time. It doesn't hurt you. Every chemical has an odor threshold and then a threshold that it becomes harmful to you. Many chemicals have a span between that. You will smell it long before it hurts you. You ever turn on the propane to your outdoor grill? Right? You can smell that propane until the fire lights. That hasn't hurt you. So he's not telling you anything that's not science-based. The odor threshold for this chemical that you're smelling is lower than the level that it would hurt you. But that's what he's trying to.
But aren't they cleaning it up? Aren't they picking the chemicals up?
Well, what do you mean by hurt you? Kill you or make you sick?
So,
No. Like I said, they're not detecting hazardous levels. Hazardous.
so I'm Bruce Maguire, the director of the State Department of Health.
I have been.
That's a very, very good question you ask. I understand completely why I'm worried about that. It's the same reason that the Department of Health at the county level, the state level, and the EPA, and the state and the national level have been concerned about this and been doing all the testing they can do. Now, it is true that with the kind of chemicals that we're talking about here, they fall into a category. It's called volatile organic chemicals. Huge list.
Everybody keep it down. You want answers, but then everybody wants to talk.
There's a huge list of things that's in that category, including some of the ones people have mentioned. We are screening for them broadly and using very sophisticated equipment to check the air to see if, in fact, those chemicals are present in levels that would be harmful to human beings. And it's true that we've looked all over this community and we are just not having, thankfully, those detections hit that level. There is no reason that we would have not to share if in fact those levels did cross that level. I understand. I mean, I would feel the same way about I'm smelling something. But our job is to look for it and see if we can catch it and say, okay, what's the chemical? The fact that we are not detecting it is not an indication that the detection machines aren't working. It's really an indication that whatever you're smelling is in fact well below that safety level. We're going to continue to monitor. I would say that if you have a particular concern where you're living, we would be happy to look into how we could perhaps bring testing equipment into that area just to be sure that that area, in fact, is not having those detections. We're trying to really do a very thorough job of addressing that. We're also, of course, looking at the drinking water, and you've probably heard that the municipal drinking water tests, thankfully, have been outstanding, so that's good news. It doesn't surprise us because the water source that you use is a very, very good one. It's very, very deep, and we really did not anticipate it could be directly impacted. So I'll turn it back.
Okay, so you are the doctor, and a lot of folks here, I'm sure, have the same query. You're saying that the air is fine, there's nothing in the air, and we're hearing from Kurt with the EPA that the water is all kosher. And I had concerns with dead fish, the smell of the water. I'm or we have symptoms that could be because of this. How are we experiencing symptoms if there's nothing to cause us any harm? So, and I would also like to add in, since I got the mic, and I'm sorry everybody, I have been waiting for a phone call for my well testing, and I'm not getting one. I don't know if anybody else here has got their well tested. Yes? Still waiting? Has anybody got a well test? Anybody on a private well? Had a well test? You have had one, ma'am? Okay, so we got one scheduled, so there's hope for that. But when they say, oh, we're testing the water and it's good, everything's good, okay? Nobody here has a damn well test. So don't tell me the water's good. And so, anyway, off the well test, but that's not why you gave me the mic. I'm sorry, Mayor. I will give it back to you so you can address the health concerns, because we're all very afraid, and we just want some reassurance.
Well, I understand that completely, and I'd be concerned as well. I'd be afraid as well. Let me explain a few of the situations that we're dealing with. First of all, dead fish. These volatile organic compounds, we find them in everyday life, and we know from our everyday life experience, some of these things like the gasoline that we pump at the gas station, that's a volatile organic compound. When you're pumping gas and you smell it, you're being exposed to a volatile organic compound. When you're in a house with somebody who's smoking, you're being exposed to volatile organic compounds, frankly, at levels far above what we're testing for. What happened with the fish was that there was the release of a large amount of these volatile organic compounds directly into the water.
Oh my God.
And those fish were directly affected, but at concentrations far higher than what we're looking for in the drinking water or looking for in the air. So we know that there's been no exposure like those fish got in the air or the municipal water. And we have not gotten to, and I'm not the person who does the water testing. If people are not getting their water tested, that is something that needs to be addressed. I'll tell you, the Department of Health, and I know that the County Department of Health is deeply committed to getting that done. But the people who are in charge of that can speak to the process. That's not my direct area. When I'm talking about safe water, what I'm talking about is the municipal water source. We do have that information back. Fortunately, the large majority of people in the community are served by that, and everyone's not. And where I live, I'm on well water, so I understand how important it is to make sure your wells are safe. I would ask that until your well is tested, please use bottled water so that we can make sure that you're drinking safe water. And if there's something wrong with the water in your well, we can work to mitigate that. There are steps that can be taken. You know, it's a frightening thing when something like this happens in a community. My job is not to make that have gone away. My job is to work with the local community to make sure that we are doing everything within the scope of scientific ability to look for sources. It is a piece of good news that we've done this extensive air testing and not found levels above the levels we talked about, and that your municipal water is safe. A ton of work, and people who do this are better able to describe it, has gone into dealing with the spill per se. That water, I was out today looking at extensive work that's being done to contain that, clean it up, make sure that it's not getting now further down, and assuring that as this gets cleaned up, that water is safe. Well, that's what we're looking for, and that's why we're testing groundwater. I don't know what to do about providing further assurance or... So,
Right, understand, we are doing all that can be done to look for the sources of potential contamination that will affect you and your family. So, then address well water. Who's going to address the well water testing? Because that is not the Department of Health.
Yeah, and so far, again, we started that sampling last Friday, or Thursday was last week. We started that water sampling. To date, we sampled all 5 city wells, including the finished water in the city, an observation well that is utilized by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources immediately adjacent to the city well field. And we've also sampled, as of this morning, 13, and then we did another 8 today, and we have, I believe, 8 scheduled for tomorrow. So that sampling process will continue. And again, there's relative to the number of residents in the community, the far majority are supplied by the city water. That those have already been tested. We have yet to identify any contaminants there.
You can tell we're old.
Yes, I know, right?
Yep. That's good.
Yeah, the water we've tested so far has no indication of contamination, and so it would be safe to use. Yes. Yeah, I can't speak to why other communities. No, I work for the county health district. I'm the local health commissioner, Columbiana County.
Hi, my name is Barb, and I'm here to ask the question of why the trains can go over 25 miles an hour through our town if our cars cannot. I want to know who we have to contact, whether it's local, federal, state, to get this changed so our trains slow down and don't come flying through our town.
Everybody hear that question? The question was, why can the trains go faster than 25 miles per hour and we can't in town? And who would we contact to get that changed? Norfolk Southern, of course, but I'm going to see if the congressman can shed some light on that.
That's a good question. Who asked the question? That's a good question. And I don't know, because I asked that question earlier. I said, you know, there is a federal process that requires trains that are carrying hazardous chemicals like this to be identified. It is supposed to be identified as a hazardous chemical carrying train. That information is supposed to go to the states. I don't know what the state's process is in filtering that information out to local communities. My commitment to you is that I've got a team in Washington right now looking at how that process works. What should happen to the speed of a train that's carrying that kind of chemical? I don't set the speed limit on the railroad. That's a state issue, but I can certainly ask those questions for you. Okay, get a card from that young lady right there, and we'll get you an answer back.
I've been told by somebody in the back, this knowledge, you need to, everybody here, if they're concerned about the speed that the trains are going through town, you need to contact the FRA, the Federal Railroad Administration, and lodge a formal complaint there.
And because that's a Federal Railroad Administration, if you don't get an answer from them, that's me. Come to my office. I'll ask the question on your behalf.
I just want people to understand that we are a town that is grieving right now. Some of us are mad, some of us are sad, but we are strong and we will get through this together. We are EP strong.
I'm going to start this by saying that the mayor wasn't even aware of this before tonight, but the railroad called me tonight and said it wasn't safe to go home. that they would pay for my rent and all of my moving expenses. They did it because I insisted on having a water and soil sample taken at my house because my front door is 7 steps from that creek. They sent in a toxologist from the railroad sent them, they said my house, I cannot go back to it. They called today and offered me that settlement. My question is, why doesn't everyone else deserve that same testing? And were they wrong about any warehouses? If I would have went home with my daughter, I might not be standing here today.
So what testing did they give you? It was a special test.
Michael Lumpkin, he's the senior toxologist from CTEH, and they were sent to my house by the railroad because I ran my mouth, because I spoke up. If all of you don't speak up for yourselves, no one else will.
So, wait.
Thank you.
So, they did the original test, the original result. I'm trying to clarify this. I'm not sticking up for anybody.
I'll tell you, they came to my house to do the air test. I live kitty corner to the parking lot of the Moose, down the long driveway that runs along the creek. I knew when I went home for the first time that there was toxins in that creek. Even my laptop stunk when I went home to get my meds. When they came down to do my air quality test and said it was okay for me to go home, they were going to quit paying my hotel bill, I threw a fit. I said, I want to know what's in that water. I want to know how much is in that water. This water is 7 feet from my front porch. I had the railman come down. My address doesn't take you to my physical house. The gentleman, Terry, from the railroad, came to my house and said he saw what I was concerned. He sent out, this toxologist was sent out from the railroad. The railroad called me today and said we will pay all of your moving expenses, your first night, or first month's rent, your last month's rent, because I can't go in that house. How many of these people are sleeping in houses because they didn't use their voice and they didn't throw a fit? Their kids are laying in there breathing that stuff in.
Thank you, yeah.
But your first air test, they said was fine.
But what he was talking about, that creek water got in my basement and my air was compromised. They're coming in and testing our house once. And again, I know you didn't know this, Mr. Mayor, but we leaned on a non-profit to help us get answers because I didn't trust these answers coming from the railroad. But now the railroad's telling me that I can't go in my house. What do? Why don't all these people deserve that same special treatment that I got? Why is my kid more important than Kansas' kid?
How many other people's houses aren't safe? That's scary. I'm sleeping in my house with these babies that are brand new. That is scary.
Those are legitimate questions. Here's what I want you to do. See that young lady standing right there? I want you to go fill out a privacy form. I want you to give me all the information that you've gotten from the railroad. We're going to start a constituent services inquiry on your behalf. Okay, go do that.
This week on the 23rd at 6 o'clock, for anybody who didn't get a flyer, we're doing a community meeting. There will be scientists from the University of Kentucky and the University of Pittsburgh there to do free water and soil testing for our community. This isn't a one-time thing. It's going to be all the time. We're a part of the organization now. My lady actually left her job to join this nonprofit organization. We're here. There will be a nonprofit attorney there, not to solicit cases. He's there just strictly to answer your questions about what you should be asking your attorneys. Thank you.
My question's pretty quick. I am in Negley, and my question is the town of East Palestine, the people in charge of East Palestine, working with Negley officials to do something for us? I live where Leslie Run dumps into the Little Beaver Creek. I can smell it. I can still smell it, and I'm down there, and they have the screens or whatever that they have that they're trying to contain everything, and I can still smell it. I went down there today. There are still dead fish, and I can tell you that in Leslie Run, there was not one living fish. But I walked up Little Beaver Creek, above stream of that, and there were schools of them. So these officials are telling us that everything's fine, the fish are repopulating, but yet we're seeing other things that are completely contradicting that. How are we supposed to trust these people?
EPA has listed on their website the preliminary water testing for their services. Our water has 56 volatile organic compounds in it right now. 71 semi-volatile organic compounds and 3 petroleum products. That's on the EPA website, folks.
Hey, whoa.
Thank you.
Please, don't run away, go. I am too, and I'm originally from Negro.
Hit him with facts.
But this is incorrect. Let's. Yeah. EPA, somebody please. Somebody from the EPA. Yeah. All right. 1 second. Tim, can you address the county? I mean, the county work. Is the county working with? I can only speak to you. Yeah.
So the Middleton Township trustees, has anybody spoken to any of them? Do you know who they are? Okay. And so you're concerned about the street or your water lines?
They want to make all the water. He likes fun to love you. He's no thirsty. Gonna go get your water?
Wes, I'm going to ask you to address. So you're in Negley, you're inside Negley, and you have water wells.
Yeah, sure. So again, back to that water sampling program that we have. And if you're in the area and you'd like to have your wells sampled, I've run out of flyers actually, I'm sorry. You can call our health department office and we'll get you the phone number, and then you can call there and get on the list. The list then goes into a large database, and we look at the map every single day to try to decide what our next high priority is. So we move through some of the higher risk areas closer to the well, closer to the creek, closer to the site. So that's kind of how we're working through it. All get on the list. That's that same 330-849-3919. Yes. At this point, we haven't had any indication that there's any contaminated groundwater. We're still working through that. Yeah, we'll have to address those each individually.
Look, I understand Negley. I'm from this area, and I know that that's all sand and gravel down there, and I do have a concern that eventually you guys might have problems with the well. I do have that concern, and we will address it.
Hello, my name is Glenn. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My question that I started